What's good? What's good? I am back. One and only Paul Pickett, host of the Paul Pickett Podcast, aka Triple P, aka the Common Sense Podcast, your source for sports, politics, world events, and much, much more. We're about to bring on a special guest. He has a background in kickboxing and Muay Thai, but has been fighting in the BKFC bare knuckle, has a 2-2 record. Let's bring on the one and only Ryan Peterson.
Yo,
Ryan,
how
how
you
you
doing,
doing,
Paul?
man?
I'm well, brother.
Oh,
How are you?
I'm doing good. Weather looks nice out there, man.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day out here. No rain. We got sunshine today, so I'll take it.
Yeah, we about to hit the 22-degree weather, I think, this morning, they said.
All right, I think we're close to 70 out here right now.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Where
So,
are you at? Where are you located?
Fayetteville, North Carolina, man.
Okay. I'm up in Northern California.
And I wanted to start here, actually. I seen were you born in Fort Bragg?
Fort Bragg, California, not North Carolina.
So they had a Fort Bragg, California.
Yeah. So that gets mixed up all the time. Everybody always asks me if I grew up as an Army brat or something like that, but it's Northern California.
I did not know that. I learned something new today.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I was reading the article, and it seems like you had a tough childhood. Says you was getting in trouble hanging with the wrong crowd like I was doing as a kid.
Yeah.
Where do you think your life would be without combat sports?
Oh, 100%. I'd be on dope somewhere, be on dope or locked up or something or dead. You know what I mean? It's almost a cliche nowadays, but it's just maybe it's just our generation. It's just the way we came up. The way that it was when I was growing up, when oxys hit, dude, everybody jumped on oxys. Everybody was already, if you were rolling with troublemakers, that's kind of what you were doing. Everybody jumps on oxys. When the oxys dried up, everybody went to heroin. My boys were smoking crack, doing heroin, this and that. And instead of going down, like I went down that route a little bit. I wasn't smoking crack, but I was doing oxys and things like that. And then when it started to veer off a little bit more, I realized, you know what, I don't want to go that route. And started hitting the gym, started training and all that. And that's basically kind of what opened up the door for me to understand that there was more to this than all of that. And not only that, but just having a passion to do something more with my life. You know what I mean? Having some guts to do something different.
So you basically got into kickboxing and Muay Thai first?
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, you know what? I take that back. I started doing a little bit of jiu-jitsu back in the day when I was probably, I think about 16. I was getting into a lot of street fights, and so I started training. But then it was like at first, when I first started training, I was just extra ruthless on the street. Then I was like, okay, now I know what I'm doing, and I could just be hella ruthless. It was probably not the best route. And then I kind of had split from that a little bit. Started getting in shape. Started getting kind of like physical fitness, this kind of stuff, and just training. And then again, once I started to realize that there was more to it, I was always the baby of the group too. I was always the youngest dude in the group of everybody I hung with. So by years, I dropped out after 8th grade, dropped out of school. All the guys that I were hanging with were, early 20s, things like that. When I look back, I'm like, what the hell were these guys doing kicking it with a kid like me? But basically, I was the baby of the group, and I saw where all these guys were going, and I didn't want to go that route. I just realized that they were all ending up nowhere. There was always trouble. There was always drama. We were all on probation. We were always getting arrested. There was always something. You get a cop behind you, everybody gets stressed out because if you get pulled over, you got a bench warrant or a warrant of some sort. You know what I mean? You get pulled over, okay, you're going to jail or something like that. And that's not the route that I wanted to go. And I could see that they were all going that route. They were also developing dope problems. They were also, smoking crack and just forgetting everything that they needed to do in life. And that's not what I wanted to do.
Sounds a lot like the crowd I was hanging with. They were a lot older than me and I was younger, basically following their lead and stuff.
Yep.
So you get into bare knuckle. How did the opportunity come about for you?
So basically, once I saw, like, looking back, I look at it, man, if bare knuckle was something that was available when I first started training, this is the route I would have gone. You know what I mean? I love it. I absolutely feel like God put me on earth for this purpose. But I was living up north. We were living up just outside of Canada, and I was driving into Canada every day to train. And I was kickboxing through a gym in Canada, actually. Mm-hmm. And when we were about to have our first kid, we moved back to Northern California. So we moved back here, and then that's when BKFC was first starting, right when their first show in Wyoming. And I was like, I saw it, and I was like, I told my wife, I was like, this is what I got to do. I was like, this is for me, 100%. So I was trying to figure out, okay, how can I line this up? How can I get this? Basically, how can I make this happen? And I was trying to get some fights, and then COVID popped off, and there was really nothing happening. And then there was a
Yeah.
local show here that wanted to have some fights. I was trying to kickbox on the show, and nobody wanted to kickbox. And so the promoter said, well, he said something about bare knuckle. I was like, I'm down. I'm hella down for that. So get the fight. And a couple days after the fight, I messaged Nate Shook. I got a hold of Nate, and I was kind of in talks with Nate and going back and forth. And I was talking to my friend Shannon, and I was telling him, hey, I'm trying to get on here, yada, yada, yada. And the tryout in Utah came up. And I said, I think I need to go out to this tryout. And my buddy Shannon's like, hey, man, I'll sponsor you. I'll pay for the whole thing. So my boy Shannon paid for everything. And I flew out there. And immediately, it was like, as soon as I got there, Chris Lytle came up to me and he was like, yeah, you need to fight for us. So I felt like I showed up prepared, and I stood out. My work ethic shined through that tryout. So that's basically what happened. I got on the tryout, and that was, I think, beginning of October of 24. And then I was fighting November. That basically the later that next month.
Yeah, and Lights Out Lido definitely, he knows talent when he sees it.
Yeah, he's been a blessing to me, man. He's really, I feel like in a way, he's kind of taken me under his wing just from the tryout right there, just telling me what to do, where to go, and then every time I see him, he's always super pleasant to me. So Chris has been real good to me.
Yeah, I think he's I interviewed him once, but actually twice. I produced the interview that he did, and then I interviewed him. I think he's one of the most decent human beings I've ever talked to.
Agreed. Yeah, he's a good dude. He's a solid individual. Both, I can't say, enough good things about both him and Sean Wheelock, who both give me a lot of praise and on, just while I'm fighting, but then also while in person, you know what I mean? When I'm talking, interviewing with them, or we're just interacting at the hotel, whatever it is, they've both been great to me, which has been nice.
So your first fight was against this Dan Godoy.
Dan Godoy, yeah.
Godoy. I butcher the last names all the time. Were you nervous going to that fight at all?
Probably. I don't know if I would say more, nervous. I think you're turned on, brother. You're just turned on and tuned in. I think that's what happens with this. I think that's why I feel like I was born for this. I can't say that I get real nervous, like wound up for fights. I feel more locked in, like, hey, here we go. You know what I mean? It's no different. It's funny because, like, it's doing the countdown for the interview here today, and you start getting just like this. Okay, here we go. This is really nothing. This is not a fist fight. You know what I mean? But either way, when you have something going on in your life, your body tunes in, and you just go, hey, this is what we're doing. I'm watching the countdown. I was thinking, well, this is no different than kind of standing in the back. Kevin Smith's got a hold of your shirt, and he's tells you, hey, it's time to go, and it's no different. It's just your body tunes in, and that's how I felt. I felt prepared. I felt real prepared for that fight. And shout out to Dan. Dan was a solid individual. Basically, everybody I've fought has been cool. But Dan came up to me at our medicals. We just chatted. We're still friends to this day. But I just felt tuned in and turned on, man.
Yeah, I was watching your highlights, and you kind of remind me of like the Terminator, the second Terminator. It's like you don't have no emotions. It's not like you're happy. You're just like you said, you could tell you're just locked in. I never see your opponents really having you on the ropes too much. You're steadily going at them, like a Terminator, man.
I love that comparison. I absolutely love that comparison. That's not the first time I've heard that, but I think that's fantastic. I hope that catches on.
So your second one went 5 rounds. One thing I noticed, it looked like you didn't really get tired at all in that fight.
You know what, brother? It's funny because I got super sick right before that fight. Like, I was 4 days out from that fight, and I was in bed, dog shit sick, on antibiotics. I was so damn sick that it was like I was flying out on a Thursday to be down there, and I told my wife, I said, if I'm this sick, wake up Thursday, I said, I'm pulling out because I'm so sick. And I got down there, still wasn't feeling good, was on antibiotics. And going after that 4th round, it's funny because going into the 3rd, my trainer, Jay Johnsey, he says, you got 100 more rounds like that. He's like, no problem. And then the 4th, Matt and I locked up. And I remember when he first grabbed me, I was like, all right, cool, whatever. This is fine. And then he started swinging on me, and I was like, okay, we can't sit here. And when I left that round, that for whatever reason, I think it was just the antibiotics, man. That drained me because I trained super hard for that fight. But that drained me. I remember going back, put my head on the rope, and I looked down. I was like, bro, that smoked me. And then we went into the fifth round, and there was a few times in the fifth round where I was like, if where Matt was putting pressure on, and I thought, well, if I let him continue to take this from me, then it's his fight. But I got to just keep pushing, and that's just basically what I felt was just push, push, push. And shout out to Matt too. Him and I just recently reconnected on Instagram. He's a solid individual as well, man.
So then you go into this fight, Dustin Page, your main event. Have you been a main event in a card before?
That was the first main event that I had was with Dustin. First main event for me for BKFC.
So what was that moment like for you?
It's funny because during the fight and during all that kind of stuff, I kind of block all that stuff out. Honestly, it's when I can look at it in retrospect and I can say, man, this is a trip. You know what I mean? It's like I opened up a gym in town and I got the poster on the wall there, and it's kind of a trip to look like Alessio Sakara is on that card. I grew up, you know what I mean? When I was watching him when I was a little bit younger and thinking like, man, here main eventing it's just kind of a trip to look at it in retrospect. But leading up to it, again, I'm almost emotionless about all this kind of stuff. Eventually it'll kick in, and I wish that I could almost enjoy it a little bit more, but I don't hype myself up. I just think, you know what? Hey, it's just a fist fight, right? Ultimately, it's just a fist fight. Is your will versus his will at the time, and that's just what it is. Again, too, Dustin, he's fighting this weekend, but he was pleasant from the jump too. But it was a good fight. I think that also it could have continued. The fight could have continued as I wasn't out or anything like that. But it is what it is. Dustin's a gentleman. Hats off to him. He did what he's supposed to do, and ultimately I'm proud of that fight. To be honest, I'm proud of how hard we went, and it was like after the fight, Justin and I were talking. It's like it was a Rocky movie. You know what I mean? It was like I threw a left hook, he threw a left hook. I threw a right hand, he threw a right hand. I threw a jab, he threw a jab. Everything that we were doing was just like smashing each other at the same time. Not that necessarily our intention was to go blow for blow, but it almost ended up doing that. It almost ended up being the case.
As a fan, I mean, those fights really, I really enjoy those. I hate the fights when guys are just dancing around the ring and just ducking and dodging as much as they can. I think to me that's when they're making it too much like a boxing match and not a bare knuckle fight.
Not a fight. Yeah, exactly. Like you say, not a fight. This is not necessarily, it's something too, because it's still a fight. This is still a fist fight. It's not necessarily, that doesn't mean you don't have to have technique, but at the same time, ultimately what I'm trying to do is damage you, right? I'm trying to cause damage, get the least amount of damage, but I don't consider myself a point fighter, right? I'm not there to hit and move necessarily. I'm there to make sure that you knew you were in a fight with me.
Yeah, all your fights have seemed like that. And the last one, I definitely think they called that way too early.
Agreed, brother. Agreed. Now, I don't want to, I don't mean any disrespect to Big John. I think he's a great referee. The guy's been around for a long time. Yeah. But I got up, I obeyed both of his commands, which one, he said, don't put my right hand was on the rope. He said, take your hand off the rope. He said, look at me. I said, I'm okay. And he waved it off. After he said my eye had a wobble in it or twitch in it or something, I felt fine. After we go in the back, you have to do all these concussion tests. I passed everything, no problem. Same with after the Dustin fight, passed everything, no problem. So I don't know. I really don't have to. It almost felt like a bad dream. Walking in the back, it felt like a bad dream. Like, did that even just really happen? Like, especially seeing John said, he's like, I know who you are. I've seen you fight, and it's like, then let me go because I can take a shot. I can take a punch. I can get hit. This goes for any ref. Like, I can take a shot. I'm not bothered by punches. It doesn't bother me. I don't mind. Not that my intention is to get cut up or anything like that. It doesn't bother me in the least bit. Getting smashed with a hard punch doesn't bother me in the least bit. It's not what I'm not there to be a punching bag necessarily, but I'm not bothered by it. I'll tell you that.
And I would think it sucks for like the fate to be in the hands like that of the ref, especially that quick. Because I noticed a few fights last year where a lot of guys will just be punching the guy, the guy ain't really punching back, but none of the blows are really affecting the guy, and they're just like waving it off, like, oh, it's over. But like every single punch you could tell didn't even affect the guy at all. So the refs have got it wrong sometimes. I'm the fan, so I'll go ahead and criticize them for you. You know what I'm saying? So I know y'all fighters don't like to criticize the fight promotion, but I could be critical sometimes at BKFC of certain things.
Yeah, and that's here's the thing too. You can say, hey, yeah, he's a human. Maybe he was using his best judgment at the time. That's all I can say is that maybe he was using his judgment on what he thought was all right. But I had talked to him after, and I said, John, I'm totally fine. I'm totally fine. I'm not injured. I'm not bothered. I'm not, I'm ready to rock. And hey, hit me with a baseball bat, brother. I'm still standing. Let's go. My ass is yet to hit the ground.
So you're 40 now, right?
Yes, sir. I'm 40.
Which is still young in bare knuckle terms, I think, because you got guys that are like 46 and 47 in bare knuckle.
Yeah, you got Yoel Romero. I think he's 48. I feel good, to be honest with you, bro.
Yeah,
I feel good.
Houston Alexander was literally 50 years old doing a bare knuckle fight before they kind of, shunned him out. But I think it's still young in bare knuckle age. But as you get older, like, what's more important, the power, the timing, or the patience?
You know what? I think that timing could beat anything ultimately, right?
Yeah.
But you have to be able to read that timing. You have to read somebody on the thing. You got to be able to get a grasp on that. Nobody comes out just reading timing immediately. That's generally as the fight goes on. You could pick up some timing or figure out what somebody's doing. Damn near everybody's got power in bare knuckle, right? Damn near everybody does, because it doesn't take much with a bare fist. There's no padding, anything like that, even just a cut. Obviously, there's guys that hit harder than others for sure, but ultimately in bare knuckle, anything could put you out. It's kind of like, I always look at it as it's a shootout. You know what I mean? In essence, it's a shootout. I pull out my gun, you pull out yours. It's at high noon, and let's do it. And if you could be a little bit slick and make an angle, that's ideal. But that's not always going to be the case. So power definitely counts for something, and it counts for respect as well, because if you start cracking somebody with something and they realize, okay, it's not safe to rush in on this guy, they'll think twice about what they throw. Yeah. But again, now if I say you read that timing, you have enough patience to read the timing, then there you are. You're jumping in and you're landing things at will, or as you please, basically.
Now, you don't seem like a guy that's into calling other guys out. You seem like you just take the fights that they give you. Is that true?
Yeah, that's basically been the case. I haven't turned down anything. Anything they offered me, I took it. But what's funny is I had a chat with I've had a chat with other podcasts, and I mentioned that I'm just not big into calling people out. But I did see who's that, Steve Tomahawk or whatever, and
okay.
he made a good point. He says, I'm not calling you out because basically I think I could beat you. I'm calling you out because I think that you're a formidable foe. You're a monster, and I like that. I like that idea, because that's exactly I don't, because generally call-outs are generally done out of disrespect. I don't consider myself to be a disrespectful individual, but I think I belong up there with the top guys, and if that's the case, I'm willing to test nuts on that. I'm never going to run out of guts or bullets on that one, so I'm fine with that. And I thought that was a cool thing that he said.
I don't think he's called anybody out before.
Well, he called out Mohawk.
Tomahawk. Well, yeah, but before that, I don't think he has.
Yeah, maybe he didn't, but right after that fight, he did that. But I thought that was a cool. He didn't mean any disrespect by it. He just says, hey, I think that you are you're a dog. I think I'm a dog, and let's do it. And I thought that was a respectful way to go about it. So, but no, generally I'm not the type guy that's calling names out and like that. Like I said, anything they have offered me, I said, okay, let's go. And that's basically been the case.
So your first fight, did you basically tell yourself, I belong here?
Yeah. What's funny is I kind of knew that I did, just even from the jump. Like I said, I truly believe that God put me on earth to bare knuckle fight. So I went into this knowing like, hey, I have a spot here. This is where I belong. This is what I should be doing. Fist fighting on a world stage. What more could you ask for? You know what I mean? That's living the dream. No joke. That's like the things that you think about when you're a kid that you know, how dope would this be? Fist fighting on the world stage. You know, you grew up on Van Damme movies or whatever. You couldn't ask for
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
more. You know what I mean? That's ideal. That's the ideal world for me.
When you go into a fight promotion like BKFC, which is basically the biggest bare knuckle fight promotion, and I think BKFC would say that they're the second biggest fight promotion in the world.
Yeah.
Do you instantly like notice how people like become fans of you quicker or just know your name more?
Um, you know what? Obviously, yeah, you get a lot more exposure. That's for sure. You know, and I think if you're exciting, you're going to gain a lot more exposure that way. Something Chris Lytle told me: do any media that you can do. Obviously, get your
Yeah.
name out there as much as you can. Get on a camera as much as you can. Don't be one to turn that down because there's plenty of guys I think that get kind of like spooked about the camera or something like that. But
Mm.
that doesn't bother me either. I think one, being exciting, two, being cool. Anytime I go to any of these events, um, you know, I'm always pleasant with fans, everything like that. They want a picture, they want me to sign something. I'm all about it. You know what I mean? I'm there to be a blessing to them as well. Uh, yeah, it's been good, and everybody in the company just they treat you well. Everything runs like clockwork, which is nice. You know what I mean? There's no
Yeah.
waiting around. You're not if something starts at 6, it starts at 6. I'm a very punctual individual as well, so if it starts at 6, boom, we're all lined up, we're ready to go at that time. Everything runs boom, 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 no problem, which is fantastic.
And I think that's what BKFC has on BKB is the production looks so much better. And it,
Yeah.
like you said, it's clockwork. The fights are just they're gone like one
Yep.
after another. It's not like a boxing match. This fight happens and you gotta wait for this long drug out process, and then these guys take a year just to walk out to the ring.
Yep. And then the ring fills up with 100 dudes, and then they all go away. And then
Yeah.
after the fight, 100 dudes come back in the ring. It's like, no, just keep it rolling, man. Just keep it rolling. And that's what I think what keeps a lot of eyes on BKFC. The fact that it's a fast paced product. Sometimes you're sitting in the back, and you know, you let's say, I don't know, even when I fought Dustin, I just knew like all of a sudden, boom, 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 we're 5 fights in. It's like, oh, dude, get
Yeah.
ready, get warm, get
Yeah.
taped up, ready to rock. You know what I mean? Because it just hits like that. Even if you're the last fight of the night, whole card is over in an hour and a half or something. That's something else, you know, that when this last one at the Acusure Arena, you got what 4 or 5 thousand people in that arena. And as I'm walking out, I can hear people calling my name. I generally don't, like I said, I don't take any of this stuff in. I don't look off to the side. I just focus straight ahead, just like, again, look at no emotion, no nothing. It's just there to do a job. But it was a trip to hear people calling my name as I'm walking out, just different people as I'm going down the ramp. And then two, I use the same walkout song every single time.
Okay.
It doesn't have many lyrics, but to hear the crowd sing the lyrics when it hit, that was a trip. That was a trip.
What walkout song you have?
I use Supreme Ruler by Kubla Khan.
Okay.
So it's only got, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 words in the whole song, but it hits. And when it does, you know, to hear the crowd, not everybody in there, but a big chunk of people, I could hear them singing. I thought, wow, that's a trip. You know, I guarantee all these people are not Kubla Khan fans necessarily, but just to know who I am after hearing this over and over and over, to have that was weird. That was really weird. Surreal.
I would think all the diehard BKFC fans should know who you are by now.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah, I hope after putting my name out there, and not only that, but like I said, just putting my nuts on the line every time. I'm not a point fighter. I'm an exciting dude to watch, and don't mind mixing it up. And I'm ready for it.
Have you heard anything about when you might have a new fight?
Yeah, I have actually. So I don't have an actual date, but I just talked to Nate the other day. So let's hopefully within the next month or two, we'll have an actual date, and it should be up soon. Yeah, I'm ready, dude. I was starting to actually like wake up in the middle of the night panicking, you know, like ready to go. I knew I wanted to take Christmas off. I wanted to take because I had 4 fights basically in a fiscal year there, from Godoy to this last one there, 4 fights. So that was almost like solid training. The biggest gap that I had was January to July when I fought Matt Suckalukchuk to Dustin. And even in then, I was trying to get a fight. I was just, pushing, but nothing came up. But I stayed training. I stayed in good shape. So I was always basically in a camp that whole time. So I knew I wanted to take Christmas off. As soon as that was done, basically as soon as Christmas started coming up, I was waking up in the middle of the night like, I gotta go. I gotta start training. I gotta move. I gotta fight. You're getting that itch, like having dreams about it, and then waking up panicking, like, all right, I need to get a hold of Nate. I need to talk to them. So that's just the itch that I was having. So I'm ready to rock again. My weight stays good. I don't ever get too heavy. That I feel good.
Yeah, I respect the grind of fighters so much. I'm a musician, and when musicians first get started, they usually they think they're grinding, but not like fighters, man. I mean, sometimes guys have to wait a whole year to fight, and it's like you can't make a living off of one fight a year. So it's
Oh,
like they gotta stay in shape for the whole year just in case they do get that fight. I mean, it's a lot of discipline, and just the discipline of waiting for the next fight, the anxiousness of trying to get in there and compete again.
yeah. Well, that's something I was just listening to Lennox Lewis talk the other day, and he's talking about when he was not in camp. um, you have to still stay in like a percentage of being in somewhat shape, right?
Yeah.
You can't just put everything to the wayside. You have to stay in somewhat shape. So if you do get that call, maybe it's short notice, maybe it's not. Even then, you don't want to lose it to be too far off, because that's a lot of pain to get back to being in dog shape from turning into a fatso to getting into dog shape. That's not very comfortable. So I never go too far. Maybe literally 5-6 pounds over my walk around and I feel like shit. So I try to stay around my walk around and in there within a good range. But that's it, man. Sometimes you're just waiting around and this is not massive boxing skill either. We're not getting paid millions of dollars yet, but hopefully one day that day will come.
Do you care about the rankings at all? Like I hear fighters always say the rankings are really just for the fans, but I always feel like that, like they be kind of somewhat lying to me because you got to care about the rankings. I would think if you want to get a championship fight.
Yeah, and in a sense, I do. To be honest with you, as a fan, as somebody I actually really don't watch fights, but when I did used to watch fights, I never looked at the rankings. I thought, okay, this guy's ranked 5 or this guy's ranked this. But now that I'm involved, it's like I want my name to be closer to the top of that ranking, and then to be on the top, right? I'm not one of those dudes that's just doing this just to pass the time. I want to be at that championship level. I want to be within that top 5. Um, but two, I look at sometimes, you look at like BoxRec. BoxRec has got rankings up there of like world rankings, not just
Yeah,
BKFC
yeah,
rank.
yeah, yeah.
And even that, I bug out on it sometimes. Just the fact that I couldn't tell you exactly what I'm ranked at right now. Well, let's say it's in between the 30s and 40s, somewhere in there. That's the last time I looked. It was like that. And even that, I bug out because I'm from a town right down the road here called Peterson, and that's like maybe 150 people. That's the town I'm originally from.
Wow.
I grew up I lived in Washington when I was growing up though, but I'm originally from there. I live not too far from there again, but I'm from nowhere, right? I'm from literally the
Yeah.
middle of nowhere. I live in the area called the Lost Coast. We have nothing around. You can see behind me. I live on a ranch right now. I have a ranch. Not everything back here is mine, but it goes down here and much of that property is mine. I live in the middle of nowhere. Everything's hard to get around here. Everything's hard to do, hard to be. And it's basically like the last place for outlaws, and this is where we live. But it's crazy to me. Like, hey, I could have just been an absolute nobody smoking dope, but here I am in a legit world ranking. So to me, it makes me almost proud of myself to look at where I've come from, where I'm at. The fact that my name is on there, 8th grade dropout, nobody, and here it is. And again, just trying to climb that rank as a metric, even as a metric of your own, to test your own nuts.
Who you got in this Julian Lane versus Dustin Peg?
I got Dustin. I'm going for Dustin. Respect to
Dustin.
both guys, but I hope Dustin. Dustin is a gentleman. Dustin's been great to me. I still talk with Dustin all the time. We talked just last week, I think, but we'll talk tomorrow or the next day, I'm sure. I talked to him. He's the last phone call that I had, other than my wife, before my last fight. Also, Dustin is a good dude. I didn't know Dustin before our fight, and to be honest, I don't look up. Whenever I fight anybody, I don't look up any footage or anything like that. I don't look up, maybe I see 10, 20 seconds of them. Maybe
Uh-huh.
I don't look up their social media. I don't look up Facebook. I don't look up none of that. It's just how I am. And, but I knew who Dustin was from the UFC. I didn't really watch any of his stuff before that, any of his stuff leading up to this fight here. But then when I met him, I walked in the hotel and he was at the desk, and I had walked in, and immediately he was just cool right off the bat, and pleasant beforehand. We sat next to each other during the rules meeting and talked. It's funny, we got like one corner on one side of the room, the other corner on the other. Everybody's, got animosity. Him and I are the only two that are opponents that are sitting next to each other talking. Hey, you got a family? Yeah, he's got kids. He's got 3 kids and a wife, everything like that. I got kids. We got all this kind of stuff. And we just talk normal, just like men. You know what I mean? Hey, we just got a job to do. That's all there is to it. Let's go out there and have a good time. And that's basically what it came down to. So I got Dustin. I hope the best for Dustin. He's been in the game a long time. Julian has been in the game a long time as well. And, I think it's going to be a good fight.
You said something earlier, made me think about a question I had, because I saw where a quote says, "I'm a nobody from nowhere. I'm doing cool things that I set out to do. I'm a guy who had the odds stacked against me," which I always felt like that when I was a kid too. Like, how hard was it to overcome the odds against you?
Oh man, you know what I mean? I look back and I just think like some of these people don't even. There's times where I was legit homeless growing up. You know what I mean? Literally living out on the street, sleeping on the street, not couch surfing, literally sleeping outside. There was a gazebo I used to sleep in. I tried to stay awake as late as I could because I always just had like this vision of me falling asleep and somebody coming and just stomping my face out. I'd sleep up against this bench that was like it had no backing underneath it. But there was a bench behind my head, but there was no backing into this. All the cold wind would come in. This was in Washington when I was a teenager. But I always had this like vision of falling asleep and somebody just coming and just start stomping on my face. And I could see how people go crazy living on the streets. So I think about things like that. I think about literally sleeping outside for months, stealing to eat. I don't, it's not something I can say like, oh, go do that kind of stuff. But it's what I had to do at the time. You know what I mean? I go into the grocery store, steal something and steal some food to eat. And that's how I was getting by. But totally foolish. Didn't know how to operate in life. My grandma had a neighbor. This lady is 92 years old. She had an 82 Mercury Zephyr, and this gal gave me this car, gifted me this vehicle, and that was like I went from sleeping outside in the cold to sleeping in that car, and that was like a palace to me. You know what I mean? That was like such a blessing, even though it was still cold, everything like that. You were still crammed. That had a bench seat in the back, bench seat in the front, so it wasn't really comfortable, but it was so much more comfortable than sleeping outside. You could lock the doors, make sure nobody was messing with you. Plenty of times cops rolled up on me. What are you doing? Yada, yada, yada. But I just think about the work that it took to get to this point. And even that blows my mind, it's quite a trip, but at the same time, let that be known that it's possible. Everything that I've done is I'm not superhuman. I don't have any superpowers. I don't have anybody that gifted me a bunch of money or anything like that, put me in this position. This was all hard work. 8th grade dropout, once homeless, living in the vehicle, all this kind of stuff. It's possible if you could set your sights on something and not be a little bitch and be afraid to put in the work. That's basically what it is, right? Don't be a little bitch about it. Get up and do it. Get up do what you have to do, and that's it. And don't quit. Don't be a little bitch and quit.
Yeah, I've always valued the hard work. My grandfather had to move out when he was like 16 and work on a farm for like 3 meals a day, a roof over his head, not a penny to his pocket. So I always kind of cling to that story because you don't see those kind of guys no more, really.
No, you don't. You don't. That's a dying breed for sure.
So I got one more question before we let you go. Do some shout outs. What kind of advice would you give to a newcomer coming into bare knuckle?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I just opened up a gym here, WKX Humboldt. I come from WKX Surrey in Canada. That's the gym I was training at. We just opened up WKX Humboldt here, basically a branch off of their gym. And what I tell everybody, the advice that I could give if I could build a fighter from the ground up, I would start them with footwork. You can't overemphasize footwork and fundamentals, footwork and head movement for bare knuckle, right? But if they wanted advice on just being involved in the game, show up, bite down, smash everything, grit your teeth, grab your nuts, and jump in, man. You know what I mean? Try to be as smart as you can, fight as smart as you can, but you know what I mean? That's it right there, brother.
Grit your teeth and grab your nuts.
Grate your teeth,
Oh,
grab your
that's
nuts, bite
hilarious.
down, smash everything, dude. And that's it right there because that's what it takes. That's why I don't have any disrespect for anybody in this game as far as bare knuckle because it takes a truckload of nuts to do it. You know what I mean? No joke. I don't got no problem with it as far as like it doesn't bother me, but it's a different game from getting hit with gloves on and doing all that kind of stuff than it is to having something that is gonna split you up. You know what I mean? You know it's gonna bust you up. But I grew up fist fighting on the street and just it never bothered me. When I got older, it never bothered me. When I was young, I was actually violence scared me. But
Yeah.
as I got older, you develop a relationship with it, and you develop just hey, let's test yourself and see how far you can go and see where you land. And again, like I say, I feel like I belong up there with the top guys, and I feel that in my core. I feel like God put me on earth to do this.
Well, I appreciate you taking time out to do this interview, and you're more than welcome to come back on anytime you like. And can't wait to see you get in there. I know you're ready to get back in there and
Yes,
get
sir.
back on the winning streak.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely, Paul. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate your time.
All right, any shout outs you want to do? Sponsors, anything?
You know what? Shout out to my family. Shout out to the Martin family. Shout out to Active Care Chiropractic, Blades Barbershop. They keep my ugly face looking good with a nice haircut. Uh, Bear River Casinos always hook me up. Zay Tat 707. Jose, my man, he's always got me hooked up on nice ink. Oh boy. Now that I'm out here, Shelton's Auto Lube. They keep my vehicles running because I'm just always going somewhere. Um, Everybody, my whole county that has Humboldt County that has looked after me, and Whatcom County where I lived when I was younger. Everybody's been good. WKX Surrey, WKX Humboldt, the Johnsey family, Sep Kademi. Thank you guys. I love you guys.
I appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'm jealous of the weather, man.
Right on, Paul. You take care, brother. Have a good evening.
All right, you too.
Take care. Peace.
All right, peace. There you have it. Another interview on the Paul Picker podcast. Ryan Peterson. I know he's ready to get back in there. I mean, every time I interview guys, they're just anxious to get back there, improve themselves, get on that winning streak, get a chance to win that title. I know it's a fight week. They should have the weigh-ins tomorrow, and the fight is 17th, which is Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. That's actually early usually. Usually it's a lot later. BKFC 86 Mohegan Sun Lane versus Peg, and that's on the zone. And you got Knuckle Mania after that, and they just announced a new fight, Parker Porter versus Watson. That's going to be interesting as well. BKFC Fight Night Mohegan Sun. Boy, they are milking the hell out of the Mohegan Sun. They must be doing very, very well there. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Don't forget, I'm always live on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and also we'll upload the video to millions.co. Go to millions.co, check out all the clips, check out the interviews and the apparel as well. Appreciate y'all. Peace, and I'm out.